Welcome to Sideline Judgment. My name is Sergio,
My name is Tyler.
and today we will be talking about your undefeated, bowl-eligible, tiger-slaying, bald eagle slaying Florida Gators. And before we do,
Florida
swamp
Gator.
defending, never backing down, boys of old Florida. That's
Party
who we're
like a
talking.
rock star.
Party like a rock star Gators, baby. Clearly you can tell that we're still excited about this Auburn game. We'll get to that in a second. We'll also talk about what happened in the rest of the college football world, which, to be honest, we didn't see anything else to the lead up of this game on Saturday. We did see a little bit of a couple games because we caught them at tailgates, but we were living our best homecoming alumni life. We'll talk about the other games in the week. We'll then review our 5 wide. I will make an Arthur's fist at Tyler. We'll then once again go through tweets we shared, do a little bag promotion, and then we will preview the biggest game of the season to date, Florida LSU. Go through 5 wide in the best the best week in the college football season. It looks like it's going to be for the rest of the year, for sure up to this point, but it's looking like this might be the best.
There's a
week.
lot of good games.
A lot of good games. It was hard to pick 5, and then we'll always end with our moment of the week. But first, Tyler, we start in the nation's capital. The Washington football team, again, as you know, I refuse to say their mascot. The Washington football team has fired their head coach. Jay Gruden has been let go. This was on Monday morning.
At 5 a.m.
Yeah, so apparently the rumors that they called him in at 5 a.m. to have a meeting with the owner, and the owner fired him, and he was like, all right, and then left. First of all,
Jay Gruden does seem like the type of guy to just take that and be like,
yeah, exactly. Like, A, that, but B, if I'm told that, there is no way that I'm, like, showing up at 5 a.m. to get fired. Not even close.
Well, like, the thing is, though, Jay Gruden had the highest odds to get fired coming into this year.
Mm-hmm.
So they're 0-5.
Yeah, they're 0-5.
And so he has to know that a Monday morning meeting called it, like, after you lose, like, by a lot to the Patriots, and you're 0-5, at 5 a.m. in the morning means that.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I was him, I would have taken my sweet time.
Honestly, I would have just been like, am I getting fired? They'd be like, yeah. I'd be like, cool, let's just do this over text.
Just do it over the phone. Like,
Okay.
you don't need to.
I don't need to show up at 5 a.m. I'll be there at 10:30 tomorrow to pick my stuff up. So, Tyler, this brings up the question. Any college coaches that you could see making the jump?
I'm not really sure. Like, I mean, there's ones here and there. I think we bring this up because the big name. I've read a couple articles, and the big name always associated of college coaches that'll head to the NFL is Lincoln Riley.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people are trying to figure out. It almost is presented as like this inevitability that Lincoln Riley is going to go to the NFL one day, and it's just trying to figure out where.
Right.
I want to ask your opinion on this because my opinion is well, I don't know what he will do because I have no clue like what kind of man Lincoln Riley is on the inside, but I'm sitting there like you're in your early 30s and you are the head coach of the Oklahoma Sooners and you took it over like with a senior quarterback like Bob Stoops has left you a great situation.
Yeah.
Why would you ever leave that job?
I think the question there is, does he want to coach in the NFL? You know, now Nick Saban, when he left LSU, it was because he wanted to try coaching in the NFL, and he went to the Dolphins. But then he realized that he works better as a college coach. It's not saying that, you're coaching in college because you can't coach in the NFL. No, it's just different, you know? Like, some coaches are just better equipped to work with 18 to 20, 24-year-olds, 22, 24-year-olds. Other coaches are better equipped to work with 29, 30-year-olds, you know? It all depends on what it is, you know? People don't say that, you teach second grade because you can't teach 10th grade. No, it's just a different set of skills, you know?
Yeah,
So
I agree. I mean, like,
that's how I feel.
there's definitely a lot of coaches that get mentioned when these things get up. Matt Rule is one that gets mentioned a lot at Baylor because he has interviewed multiple times for NFL head coaching jobs.
Right.
I think because he's interviewed so much for NFL head coaching jobs, he's probably going to take one, if not the end of this year, soon. Because we'll talk about it in a little bit, but Baylor is Baylor's doing well under him.
Yeah, and he was also just given a 4-year extension.
Yeah. Meaningless words.
Meaningless words. No,
Meaningless words on paper.
what that means is I get a bigger buyout. That's what that means.
Yeah. So here's the other question. Last one of these college coaches I consider, because I've seen this name touted around.
Uh-huh.
Some people want Mike Leach to make a jump to the NFL. One, do you think that would ever happen? And two, if it did, if we step into the parallel universe where it did happen, how would you think that would go?
Okay, my answer to the first part is I don't think it would happen. But if we're working in this fantasy world where Mike Leach jumps to the NFL, I feel like it would be the greatest 10-week disaster train of all time. And here's why. I don't think it's because he can't coach. I don't think it's because he can't draw up a good offense. I just think that they won't. This is a very the NFL has a certain standard and a certain unspoken code about how you should address yourself, and I feel like Mike Leach would just be himself, and I think he wouldn't succeed because he wouldn't be able to be himself. So therefore he would say, I'm good, I want to go back to college, where he can be himself. He's seen as he's a cult hero. I mean, we're members of the Mike Leach cult. He's a cult hero, and people love him. And in the NFL, it's not the way it works. Take Chip Kelly for instance. His first few years in Philly, phenomenal, great, cult hero. Then he changed a couple things up, left. The offense is caught up to him, and now it's Chip Kelly's the laughingstock. You know what I mean? So it all depends on it's all cyclical. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think that Mike Leach is Mike Leach, if you fit him into a mold of coaches, he's not only is he not fit an NFL mold, I don't think he fits a college mold even really. Mm-hmm. He's a high school football coach. No, and I don't say that as
I get you.
He's just he's got his offense everywhere that he's been successful has been these off the beaten path places, these inner corner places like Washington State and Texas Tech, where he can just go do his own thing, and they're a lot better than they have any right to be. Mm-hmm. But they're not competing for national championships. They're not competing for Super Bowls. Right. And I say that because I also say that because Mike Leach has stated that if when he retires, he'll probably just go move to Key West and coach high school football.
I love that.
Because that's what he loves.
Yeah.
And that's how he got to start. So, he feels to me he just feels like a kooky coach that you have at your high school that wins a lot of games. Mm-hmm. I mean that not as a slight at all because he's excellent at it. I just don't think that he'd be a good NFL head coach.
Here's my thing, and last thing before we move on. I was listening to the Ringer Podcast Network. They have a podcast called The Hottest Take where people give hot takes and they have to defend it for 5-10 minutes. One of them was Bill Simmons himself said that Nick Saban is a coward and is actually a horrible NFL coach. And Mallory Rubin was defending him and saying, no, basically saying what we're saying, that it's different in that case. I will be one to say that he walked into a horrible organization that passed up on Drew Brees twice. And he was like, let's sign Drew Brees. And they were like, no, we're worried about his injuries. And you see what happened. Anyway, but the point is, Mallory mentioned that she could see Dabo Swinney making the jump one day. Not right now. I don't think with this Washington job. But talking about college coaches that could make a jump, Dabo Swinney could maybe do it one day. And then when he decides to finish in the NFL and Nick Saban retires, he can head back home to Alabama and take over the job. How likely of a scenario do you see that happening?
Look, this is my personal belief. I don't think Dabo Swinney is ever leaving that Clemson job if he can help it. I know that is not common among coaches. I actually have a friend who is very convinced that when Nick Saban retires, Dabo Swinney will come home to Alabama. Which I get, and here's the thing: you never know what makes a man tick.
Yeah.
You never know how a person thinks.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to pretend to think that I know it, but for me, it's just I get the appeal of going back to your alma mater, but he's literally he spent so much of his life at Clemson. He's already been there 10 plus years as a coach. These kids have grown up there. Now a couple of his kids are on the team.
Yeah.
And he is the man there. He's already like the greatest coach in Clemson football histoy.
Mm-hmm.
Why go to a place at Alabama?
Wow, disrespectful to Tommy Bowden right there.
I said what I said. How you go from being the man to a place where you would be at most third best.
Yeah, very true. Because it's
Like-
it's Bear Bryant, Nick Saban, and people are starting to say they're 1A, 1B. I still think it's a clear 1-2. But yeah, at best he could be the third best coach.
So, I mean, that's my opinion on the matter. I could see him as an NFL head coach. I think he works better in college too.
Agreed.
It's like how I think Dan Mullen could be a good NFL coach, but I think that he works better in college,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that he would like to stay in college because like he. I remember reading up on this that Dan Mullen's major when he was in college was education.
And his master's is as well.
Yeah, and like he.
I did
and
a little
he preaches
Dan
about it
Mullen
all the
homework last
time. What?
I did a little Dan Mullen homework last week. So
Very nice. And he preaches about it all the time that he's there to help educate young men. And if that's the attitude that you want, you're more likely to be in college or high school.
Agreed.
And that's the thing, is that high school, college, and professional football are not this up in a level, are not just like leveling up the competition, which it is. But they are different styles of jobs. They do not just because you're a good college coach doesn't make you a good NFL coach. Just because you're a good high school coach doesn't make you a good college coach. And like, look at Lovie Smith. Lovie Smith was a great NFL head coach, and he's not doing well at Illinois at all.
it's different. It's different.
So it's just different. But you'll
Good point.
see.
Let's quickly recap our fantasy teams. I just want to know, did you win or lose in college?
I lost.
I
to
won
Raul.
and I beat. Well, so you lost to my stepdad and I beat your dad.
Damn it.
So it was a weird week. Let's move to the NFL
Buckley,
fantasy.
you let me down.
Buckley did let you down, man.
Buck-
One of his quarterbacks gave him a
Dad.
0. Your dad had Ryan Willis, Virginia Tech, goose egg.
Yeah.
So for both of my leagues, in my friend league, not our league, the SOTD Money Dynasty League, I lost by 2 points.
That's
and
gotta be excruciating.
it was because of Jarvis Landry. So
I
former
came
Dolphins
back
coming
in
back to bite me in the butt.
In in our dynasty league, I did emerge victorious this week. I'm 2-3. I'm closer to 500.
Mm-hmm.
That is because Mecole Hardman allowed me to edge me right over the precipice
Nice.
on Sunday Night Football.
Let me
get me a win over the Miami Poppies.
Let me go ahead and give you the rundown of what my week was this past week. Okay.
Feel free.
All right. So I played. Here it is. I played Storm Tracy, who I finally met this weekend. Great guy, lovely guy. Here's who I had: Deshaun Watson, 42 points. Aaron Jones, 49 points. Michael Thomas, 41 points. Sorry. Cooper Kupp, 27 points. Austin Hooper, 13.5 points. Hollywood Brown, 11 points. My lowest scoring position was the Chicago Bears defense. They gave me 3 points. And then Kai Fairbairn, Houston Texans kicker, 13 points. I finished with 208.4 points, which I think a friend of the pod, Poor Bucks fan Tyler Renfro, told me was like 0.7 points away from the league record.
Ooh, wow.
I beat Storm by 101.3 points.
You know what would have helped Storm in that game?
What?
If he had Alvin Kamara. Storm's quick backstory. Storm is a Saints fan and drafted second overall in the draft, and I was drafting first. And conventional wisdom is you take Saquon Barkley, but I said nah to that, and I took the better running back on the better team. And I drafted Alvin Kamara, and Storm is none too happy about this. So if you're listening, Storm, I'm just trying to rub it in your face. All right, let's move on.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the lovely, lovely game. We've already talked about the atmosphere. We talked about how wonderful it was to be home and homecoming. Tyler, talk to me about this offense. We beat Auburn 24-13. I think the big news is Kyle Trask and his MCL sprain, right?
Yes. So Kyle Trask goes out with an MCL sprain in the second quarter. then comes back and late in the second quarter. It didn't look good on the field when he got injured, but he came back out. It's an MCL sprain. I've heard some people talk about it where it's just like it's a tough injury to have because you can move north and south, but moving side to side is not. It's painful. So Cal Trask he was fine, which is all I think you can really ask for again. He did have a lot of fumbling issues.
It was what, 2 or 3? 2, I think.
I think he had 3.
3, so it was 4 fumbles in total. 3 from Trask and then the 1 from Pierce.
Yeah, and then in addition to that, there was a missed punt conversion. There was a fake punt that they called that Tommy Townsend did not pick up,
right?
Which Auburn scored on the very next play, giving them their only touchdown of the game. But I think the thing with the Florida offense is the offensive game plan was very good. Kyle Trask was kind of just like missing throws every once in a while, and some of the receivers did drop some passes. But overall, he had, I think, about a 61% completion percentage, threw for about 250-ish. I don't remember the exact yardage total. But good, very good, 2 touchdowns. They did a really good job of putting Freddie Swain and Josh Hammond and getting receivers on linebackers.
SEC Player of the Week, Freddie Swain.
Yeah, which is how both of those touchdowns occurred. And Cal Trask, he was dealing. And Emory Jones came in when he was out with an injury and played just as well. And it was very good. And I think if you really 24-13 doesn't seem like a huge win. It's only 11 points at home. But when you consider that all 13 of those points came off of turnovers one way or another for Auburn, and the fact that Florida had all in all 5 turnovers on offense, 4 fumbles to 1 missed fake punt, I think that. The Florida offensive game plan was great. They were moving the ball.
Yeah, we were.
Those fumbles
really were moving the ball.
Killers.
And the worst part is
most of them happened in Auburn territory.
Well, actually, I would argue we got into the red zone. I think it was 4 times. 3 times. 3 times we got into the red zone. 0 red zone points. You want to know why? Because of turnovers. Like if we just converted that red zone offense that we had, this game would not have been as close. Like that's the thing where. This game was absorbed, over the top sloppy. And in the moment, if I was watching this game on TV, I'd be really nervous and agitated. But there was something about being in the swamp and the atmosphere where we talk a lot about Kyle Allen and the crowd being the 12th man. But it's really most true in Gainesville if we're going to keep it a buck. I like to think that we being there had a big effect on the outcome of that football game. And
the crowd definitely had a huge effect.
Yeah, and if it wasn't for that, then I think it would have been a much, much, much worse outcome for us, the sloppiness in the game, if we fix that, I'm actually gaining more and more confidence about LSU. And we'll talk about LSU later, but I did want to point out that Dameon Pierce took a big hit on that fumble that he had, and I can't even blame him. He went out in the early second quarter and then did not come back in. And he's most likely going to be out this coming Saturday. But my thing is that in that moment, do you think that we should have had targeting called? We were there. We saw the replay once. They only ran it once in the swing.
I've seen the hit from since then. I definitely think that if that's not targeting, I hate to be this way. If that's not targeting, I don't know what is. He hit him with the crown of his helmet, straight on.
Right.
I'm not familiar enough with the rules about what can be called for review, what can be challenged. Mullen, it's a turnover, so it already gets a TV timeout. And then Mullen called his own timeout.
Yeah.
Just so that, because he stated this in his press conference, he wanted them to take a look at it because they could take a look at it when there's a timeout, and they didn't. So I don't know all those details. Again, we were there. We weren't watching the broadcast as it was happening. Yeah. You didn't get all those angles.
And they only showed the replay once in the swamp, and then they.
I don't think that it or the Marlon Davidson hit on Kyle Trask and sprained his MCL. I don't think any of these were intentionally dirty plays.
Agreed.
But and most refs have stressed this in the way that they call they throw the flags. it's not so much about the intent right now. It's about the effect.
Mm-hmm.
And those are situations where the effect did not get a penalty.
Right.
I'm not going to sit out here and say we were screwed, but it really definitely it's a football play.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's something that we're trying to eliminate from the game, then maybe there should be penalties for it.
Right.
I don't know. It's such a bang play. I get why they didn't call it when it happened, but I mean, I just don't even really know. Like,
mm-hmm.
all I can really hope for right now is that Dameon Pierce is okay.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna get at. That I hope he's okay. We walked out of this game pretty unscathed. Dameon Pierce and the Franks. I'm sorry, that the Trask MCL sprain aside. Tyler, last thing in this offense, you mentioned it earlier that Mullen did a great job of scheming out to get our fast wide receivers onto those inside linebackers that really can't really keep up. And Freddie Swain in the slot was a great result of that. Second play, offensive play of the game for us. That long, skinny
64-yard touchdown.
64-yard touchdown for Freddie Swain. I think that really set the tone in terms of we are here, we are going to expose you, and it will be a long day for these linebackers. And it was. That's something that we anticipate LSU to work on this week. I don't anticipate seeing that again work as effectively this coming week, but we can only hope, right? I do want to say this one thing. The offensive line did improve in this game.
Yeah. I mean, it played – I think it's important to note that, like, Auburn's defensive line, one of the best in the country, if not the best, they had a phenomenal game. They forced all the turnovers. Yeah. It was specifically just the defensive line. There were no interceptions. There were no fumbles on any players that weren't involved in the front seven. But, I mean, the offensive line held their own enough. Just enough.
Uh-huh.
That's all. And even with just enough, Florida again was moving the ball.
And that's an improvement. Like it's been a bad line for this year, and it was nice to see that. And if you watch the LaMichael Pirine 86-yard, right?
88.
If you watch the LaMichael Pirine 88-yard touchdown run, you break it down. The offense is really sealing things. Pirine had to break one tackle, which if they have a front seven, you get 6 hats on the ball. And Pirine has to break one tackle in order to go all the way 88 yards for a touchdown. I'll take that every time. I'll take that every single time. I'll take that matchup. So there definitely wasn't.
It's very poetic also that Gus Malzahn told him that he was too slow to play for Auburn. Mm-hmm. And he burnt them specifically because of his speed.
Specifically because he was able to get into that third level and break them down. It just everything is
poetry in motion.
I'm telling you, man, the parallels with the 06 season right now are scary.
Yeah.
Team that isn't play sloppy. It shouldn't be this good. Wow. Okay.
The thing that's weird about college football is that no one ever wants to look at when you're looking at teams. People always want to label teams one thing, but every team, I think you have to realize is a scale. It is a range of things.
Okay.
Like Alabama, kind of. It's really all about like where's your floor and where's your ceiling. Mm-hmm. And Alabama has a really high floor, and like this team is kind of have a high variance in how they perform. But I mean, it's not always going to be pretty. Like Oklahoma typically offensively plays very pretty, and they typically play very bad on defense. But it's not. These are 18, 22-year-olds that have to go play in different environments every single week against completely different schemes and opponents
and tough environments.
And these things change. So teams are not one thing. They are not one trait that are bad, and they're not like they are a scale of things. It's about where does that scale slide on the on this whole range of good to bad.
Right.
And I think that that's something that people have to realize because like this team, if you just survive games, teams will improve. And then you will have those wins. Like Florida did not look like a 10-win team at the start of last year's season, but they won those games, a lot of them by very close margins. And then at the end of that season, they started to actually look like a 10-win team,
right?
Because they had grown into it. They were getting better. They were developing, and a lot of teams do that. So teams change, and I think if this team can just continue to win, it doesn't really matter how. If you just win, they could grow into looking like the part that everybody thinks that they don't.
Right, and like that has a lot to do with the identity of the coach and the philosophy that is infiltrated into this program. And that brings me to the defensive side of the ball, where, yeah, we're known as DBU, yes, but we have really been backing it up this past year. Like, we've allowed 6 fourth quarter points this entire season, Tyler. 6. Like, we are, like, believe it or not, we are a fourth quarter football team, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Defense is playing lights out. This is a phenomenal defense. We're allowing 9.5 points per game, which is, I think, 6th in the entire country.
First in the SEC.
First in the SEC, which, yeah, you have the best scoring defense in the SEC. That's a big deal. We have a top 25 defense in terms of passing yards, in terms of yards allowed. And going into this game, we thought, the narrative, not we, but the collective we, like college football, not us, because you heard it here first, but that Bo Nix was going to have this utterly phenomenal game against this defense, and that, this Florida defense hasn't really played anyone. They haven't really played a decent offense. Those numbers are inflated. And then what happens the first drive of the game? 3 and out. What happens throughout the whole game? Bo Nix completes, 1 of 15 attempts of passes past 10 yards?
It wasn't very good.
It wasn't very good at all.
He had a couple, the big pass to Seth Williams, which was off, but Seth Williams caught it.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the touchdown to Seth Williams earlier off the turnover. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, Bo Nix did not play well. And again, this is what I said, before the game. It was just freshmen can only play so well.
Yeah.
And I think Bo Nix, I told you in front of the Pop Phillips before the game, I think that Bo Nix's career trajectory is going to be a lot like Sam Ehlinger's. Okay. He's going to come in. He's going to be gritty. He's very athletic. He's going to win some games his freshman year. But if allowed with the same offensive staff and overtime to get better, he can grow into a really, really good player. But he's a freshman. He's not that player now.
Right.
And it's hard to go on the road and win in college football, and it's hard to go on the road and win in the swamp.
Yep.
At least, especially when Florida's good. So I think that, the defense just absolutely shut down Auburn's offense, which is another thing. Which one of Auburn's third down conversions was your favorite, the first or the second? Because there's only 2.
The first one was the slant.
One was a throw to Will Hastings, I think. The other one was
that was the slant, and this other one was where their running back broke through the middle.
Yeah.
And picked up 20 yards. They were heading towards us.
I believe so.
Yeah. Okay. Then the running one, because they really opened up the holes really well.
Yeah.
But the fact that we're talking about 2 third down conversions
in a whole game. Game.
No.
Bo Nix tossed 3 interceptions. Florida now leads the country in interceptions because we're DBU. But that's not important.
It's not important for this game against Auburn because there's really no debate who has the better secondary in between those 2 teams, but it'll be brought up this week.
Oh, yeah. But I think that Florida's defense had a great game plan. They played well. Florida spotted Auburn, Jabari Zuniga, who dressed but did not play.
Which
and they
honestly
completely shut down Auburn's offense.
Which honestly, Dan Mullen and Todd Grantham, subtle flex.
Absolutely.
Flex.
They're like, oh yeah, he could play at 80%, but we were like, we don't need to.
They're like, we got it. We got this. We're good.
Yeah. So I think that I just incredibly impressed by that defense. I think it's the best defense in the SEC.
Agreed.
And by that nature is in contention for one of the best defenses in the country.
Yeah.
There's 130 college football teams. I'm not going to act like I watched enough defense of all of them to say who's the best, but right. You got to be up there.
You got to be up there for sure.
I think that defense is going to give this team a shot to win any game it plays, but you have to limit the turnovers. Luckily, Auburn was not a team that was able to capitalize off the turnovers that Florida had, largely because the Florida defense made those turnovers back.
Yeah.
Technically, on the stat sheet, Florida and Auburn had a net 0 turnover game because they both turned it over 4 times.
Yeah, but
that's not really how football works.
No.
But and Todd Grantham talked about this in a press conference the other night, or in an interview the other night. He said he tells his guys, you always want to be +1 in turnovers. So if they have none, we got to get 1. If they have 4, we got to get 5. So that's what he appreciates to his defense. So, I mean, credit to Todd Grantham's defense for living up to that mentality. But, I mean, if the Florida offense can really cut down on those turnovers, this game could have been way more out of hand.
Yeah.
And that's the most encouraging thing. It's also slightly terrifying because if you don't get rid of those turnovers, because they've been an issue for a while now, you're in trouble.
Yeah, but I think we can develop on that more later on in the show when we talk about the LSU game. Before we move on and wrap up this game here, I just want to say the fake punt wasn't Tommy's fault. Mullen came out and said it. That was on him. So before we have any Tommy Townsend slander, and we have to debate that physically, then let's settle down. Okay.
Yeah, I credit Mullen for taking a lot of the blame on that. And it is like, but it's also kind of like he said in press conferences, like, you all loved that fake punt against Miami. Where that didn't work? You would have called me an idiot. Like,
yeah.
And he's right to say it's his fault when it doesn't work because it's going to be labeled that anyway. So he might as well take the blame.
Yeah. And I love that he said too. He was like, and even that touchdown that the defense allowed, like, that was on me as well. If I don't call that fake punt, they don't score on that next play. Like, that's on me. He basically said. Your
coach is not going to be successful. No team is going to be successful on 100% of the balls he calls that it makes.
Right.
But it is still encouraging to me, and maybe this is like a fan level spin, but it is encouraging to me that Dan Mullen is still the type of coach that'll go take those shots. Mm-hmm. They will not all work out.
Right.
That one didn't work out, and it did cost us a touchdown. That could have been a game changer if you look back at it. But I'd rather him take those shots because you know who wouldn't take those shots in those moments?
Jim McElwain.
Well, yes. I was gonna say Kirby Smart, but yeah, you're right.
You're already. We're 3 weeks out, and you're already starting the smoke, starting the fire.
We called Kirby Smart a coward on air a couple weeks ago. I'm just keeping the same energy.
Yeah. I keep that same energy, but you made a direct comparison to Dan Mullen. Now that's grounds for smoke, and I'm here for it.
Yep.
Let's move forward from this game. Again, Florida wins 24-13. The best part about 6-0, Tyler?
Chance to be 7-0.
Chance to be 7-0, baby. Let's talk about some other teams that most of them not 6-0. Maybe a couple are over here. Let's go through our rapid reactions. Granted, I didn't watch as much college football this weekend, but I did watch some highlights yesterday and on Sunday, so I was able to kind of get some feeling in there and have an opinion on these kind of things. Let's do this quickly. Let's go through them because we definitely do want to talk about the 5 wide games, and we want to spend as much time as possible talking about LSU and the big games that we have coming up this week. So, Tyler, put the clock on.
In 3, 2,
1. This Kansas-Oklahoma game, we saw a little bit at friend of the pod, Michael Phillips' family's tailgate. Very, very, by the way, hospitality was incredible.
Very gracious hosts.
The shrimp.
People. Oh, my goodness.
Oh.
The shrimp was incredible. Guys, we may sound really bougie. These are not like we didn't go to like a crazy event. They just had bought shrimp and were grilling it, and they put it on little kebabs.
Oof.
And let me tell you. Let me tell you, it's probably some of the greatest tailgate food I ever had. Mix that with the Publix chicken wings.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And all the other stuff. Also, by the way, football game.
Kansas
was slightly competitive.
Yeah, we got there.
This is growth.
We saw like the last 8 minutes of the second quarter while we were there, and like you said, growth. They were moving the ball a bit, and granted, Oklahoma's defense is not the best, but it's definitely better than before. They were hanging in there. It's the first time Oklahoma has trailed the entire year.
We got to move on.
All right, moving on. Growth to Kansas. Still got miles to go. Next up, team with the horns down that we'll talk about later today, Texas, beats West Virginia. Did you see on You Got Mossed on Monday night? The interception that honestly didn't look as great because it was really underthrown.
Yeah,
that's how I felt.
I did. No, I mean, it was good. It was a nice interception. Texas had like 4 interceptions in this game. They still only won by like 11 to. They only won by like 11 points ish, I believe. I don't remember the exact score, but I mean, West Virginia held in there with them. And credit to them and credit to you because I wasn't going to let you use this for 2-point conversion last week because I thought it would be a blowout, but I was wrong.
You were wrong,
But
and luckily I cashed in on my 2-point conversion.
spoilers, man.
Sorry. Gotta let it go.
Texas does not look quite as dominant as we thought they might have at this point, but
No.
that's just how it goes.
Which I know we're bringing everything back to the LSU game this week, but which brings me even more hope for the LSU game. Moving forward,
We're moving on.
Ole Miss running for over 400 yards against Vandy. Well,
Over 400 yards.
Why they got to do them like that though?
I mean, look, I was on the fade Ole Miss train, but then this John Rise Plumlee guy, freshman, comes out of nowhere.
All right, let's
with a Rich Rod as his offensive coordinator, and now they're not bad; they're just below average. And also, Vandy's terrible. So
let's slow it down.
They're at home against Vandy.
Damn, but you know who let Vandy score 38 points?
Who?
LSU.
Oh, that's a good point.
Let's move forward.
They scored like 60 plus, but they had to keep Joe Burrow the whole time because they allowed 38.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move forward. Texas Tech rebounds and beats Oklahoma State. Now, this was a game that got me a little agitated because I thought Oklahoma State was going to be in for like upset between Texas and Oklahoma this year, and turns out I was wrong. Texas Tech, though, letting that football fly, my man.
Yeah. I don't know how long Jed Duffy's been at Texas Tech, but it feels like forever, and honestly, I'm okay with it.
Isn't it been 1 year since Cliff Clinsbury left last year?
No, Jed Duffy's a quarterback. Matt Wells is head coach.
I was going to say,
Jed Duffy is like a quarterback, man.
I was going to say, yeah. No.
I'm aware that Cliff Kingsbury is now coaching the Arizona Cardinals, and shocking, he wasn't good at winning games in college. He's not good at winning games in the NFL level. Honestly, couldn't have seen this.
Who'd have thunk?
Why don't NFL people listen to us? I don't understand.
Speaking of who'd have thunk, Washington lost to Stanford.
Why?
Explain yourself, Tyler. Explain your preseason playoff pick.
I was lied to. I was lied to by my emotions. I'm officially announcing it on the spot. I am breaking up with Chris Peterson and the Washington Huskies until they want to take this seriously.
Tyler!
Until they want to take a playoff hunt seriously, I'm breaking up with them.
Tyler, this is like
lose to this Stanford team.
Tyler, you sound like if you're fighting like with your girlfriend and you're like, you know what, like I'm gonna leave for 15 minutes and let you figure out whatever you have to figure out, and then I'll come back and we'll deal with this. That's what you're doing. You're gonna leave for a couple weeks, let them figure out whatever it is they need to figure out, and then come on back and see what happens.
Watch them not lose a single other game this season and win the Pac-12. I'll be furious.
Jacob Eason, perfect passer rating through the end of the year.
I'm going to be furious. All right. Speaking of something that's more fun to talk about.
Speaking of Tyler's favorite personalities in college football, Brock Purdy runs, in parentheses, with the Hezzy step and throws all over TCU.
Yeah. As the only person that was at College Game Day that actually wanted Iowa State to win,
that is
thought
true.
Iowa State would win. You and Michael both picked TCU. Like a bunch of idiots.
Okay, all right. Oh, you're really going to say like a bunch of idiots after you picked Washington to be in the playoff?
Irrelevant. It's relevant.
Okay.
It's relevant.
All right.
No, but did you see when they were already up by like a bunch of points, the Brock Purdy touchdown run where he's running to the end zone and he does the little high step, like hesitation step?
He does?
Yeah.
I have to come back. I have to go back and watch it.
Yeah, I will send you the video in just a minute when we're done. And like he completely embarrasses the defender.
Nice.
And runs in the end zone. My son, best quarterback in that class, Trevor Lawrence, too.
Wow. Okay, I'm moving forward. I'm not even responding to that. Miami comes back against Virginia Tech and then loses the game.
Oh, Miami.
Now, here's my thing. I was watching the highlights and they went and they tied it, 45-45?
Yeah.
Okay, they tied it, and then did they go for two and not get it?
They missed the PAT.
That's what it is, because I was like, because in the highlight package I saw, they didn't show
the 6 points gets you. They just didn't show it to you.
They showed the 6 points, and on the ESPN counter it goes up to 45, and then the next cut is
an offensive play.
Is the Virginia Tech touchdown a couple minutes later, and I was like, wait a minute, did they go for two and not get it? Did they miss the extra point? Like, because if that's the case, like Miami Diaz, what are you doing going for two when you can take the lead here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, they missed the extra point.
Good Lord.
Which, I mean, credit them for calling back, but this Virginia Tech team is bad, so...
Yeah.
Apparently so is this Miami team.
Yeah, apparently, man. Next up, The greatest uniforms in college football right now, Tulane. They beat the Army in the hot coaching name bowl. Could you explain?
So Jeff Monken at Army and Willie Fritz at Tulane are two of the hotter like group of five head coach names.
Yeah.
For to get maybe like an under the radar Power Five job next year. And there was a lot of joking about whoever won this game would rise above the other on the list of hot coaching names.
Okay.
And Tulane wins, so Willie Fritz, props to you with your great uniforms.
Next Rutgers head coach.
I hope so.
Okay.
Do something worth us talking about, Rutgers. It's like
Please.
except for firing your coach, is the only thing apparently worth talking about.
Like and even that we skimmed over.
Yeah.
Next up, Baylor's undefeated.
Baylor's 5-0, and I don't like.
I don't know how I feel about.
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, they've won, and yeah, they've won the games, but they haven't really played like a murderer's row schedule.
Yeah.
And like we knew that they'd be kind of okay under Matt Rule, but it's like the quietest 5-0 I have ever experienced.
No, the quietest 5-0 is still Wake Forest.
All right, you put some respect on my number 19 ranked Wake Forest Deacons.
But they are still quiet.
I feel like they've beaten higher profile teams, but I mean you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Thank you.
Granted, Baylor is an infinitely louder school than
Yes.
Wake Forest, so I guess you have a point.
And then the last one in rapid reactions, a team that should be 5-0 if it wasn't for America's nightcap, our Rainbow Warriors, Hawaii. Arizona, they're 4-1, man. Really quietly 4-1.
They haven't lost since that Hawaii game, and that is mind-boggling to me.
And they won one game without both J.J. Taylor
and J.J. Taylor.
Yeah, they won a game without both of them, and I was like, whoa, okay. That was...
So maybe we were wrong to give up on Kevin Sumlin. Well, not us, but like maybe America was wrong to just give up on Kevin Sumlin.
I'm convinced that what happened with Kevin Sumlin isn't an X's and O's thing, but it was a beef between Kevin Sumlin and the powers that be at Texas A&M, and I'm not talking about the AD or anything. I'm talking board of directors and some other people with a lot of money. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
But that's besides the point.
Yeah, I mean, props to Arizona. They're actually positioning themselves to be competitive in the Pac-12.
Yeah. Bear down, baby.
All right, that's all we have for rapid reactions.
All right, let's go through the 5 wide. Let's try to go through these quickly, Tyler, because A, I'm disappointed in my points, and B, I really want to get to the LSU game. So first up, what we had on Friday night, UCF traveled to Cincinnati on that god-awful field of theirs. 8 o'clock on ESPN Friday night, a game that I did not see because I was driving from Jacksonville to Gainesville. Cincinnati with the upset, 27-24.
Yeah, I thought that this upset was going to be coming later in the year in the AAC championship.
Oh, okay.
But I guess Cincinnati just couldn't wait. Cincinnati's now got one loss to Ohio State, so I'm not going to really hold that against them. But UCF now has two losses. So I mean they're now unranked, rightfully so. And I think that you have to their shot at a New Year's Six Bowl is kind of done.
It's pretty dead.
You basically need all other group of 5 teams to have at least 3 losses, and I don't see that happening.
Me either.
Hey,
I have a question though.
Yeah.
Does this mean Cincinnati's the national champion now? Or do they have to beat Pitt?
Pitt already took it from them.
They have to beat Pitt. Okay.
You got to beat them to it. Okay.
Wait. So if we beat LSU, does that make us national champions?
By a certain logic, I would have to say yes.
Because they beat them first.
Interesting.
We'll have to see.
LSU hasn't lost since beating them.
So yeah, they should.
So technically, LSU, regardless of what actually happened in San Francisco with Clemson and Alabama, technically LSU is the national champion. So if we beat them,
then we would be national champions.
Then we'd be national champions. Of course, it wouldn't be a national championship game if we lost, though. It would only be a national championship if we win. That's how you know you're a national champion.
Yes,
on the condition that you win, you would call yourself that, and you wouldn't say that you lost a national championship if you lost the game.
Why would I do that?
Why would I do that? I mean, it makes no sense.
That doesn't look pretty on my stadium.
You want to talk about the text that my dad said?
Throw it in now. Let's do it now. Whatever.
My parents went. Two of my sisters go to UCF. We joke about UCF.
We
It's
talk
all
about
in good
UCF.
fun.
A lot of close people in both of our lives went to UCF. UCF fans. We
I
have
think
nothing but
that gives us
respect.
a right to talk about
Nothing but respect for UCF. And honestly, I love UCF. I love it when a group of 5 team is extremely well and starts to cause havoc to group power 5 teams.
Yeah.
I really love that. It's good for the sport.
Yeah.
Continue.
But my parents went to the bounce house for a family weekend with my sisters to go watch football. It was when they destroyed UConn.
Mm-hmm.
Good for them. And my dad sent me a picture of the sign in the stadium that says UCF national champion 2017 national champions. If I could just find the text. Oops, give me 1 second.
It's the way your dad spelled it.
He spelled it in the way that he talked, so I knew exactly.
And now
what
that
he
I've
was
met
saying.
him, I understand it.
Yeah. He sent me a picture and he says, "At my first UCF game in the bounce house. Terrible. National champions? Really? Really?" So, yeah.
all that
just to say.
None of us got points. Let's move forward. The Iowa Hawkeyes took on the Michigan Wolverines in the Big House Saturday at noon. Michigan ends up winning that game 10-3 in the most Big Ten scoreline I've ever seen in my life.
I have nothing to say about this.
Neither of us picked Michigan. I have no words.
I have nothing to say about this whatsoever.
All right, moving forward. No points for either of us. So far, 0 points on the week. Next up, Michigan State, Ohio State. Was the 7:30 game that Kirk Herbstreit had to leave Gainesville for. So disappointed in him. Had to leave Gainesville to then go back to Columbus. Called that game. Ohio State wins 34-10. Tyler and I both get those points. I did see the highlights of this game. Let me just say, if we hadn't had our throwback unis, these Ohio State uniforms would have been the nicest of the week.
I like their blackout uniforms.
I love them.
And I think they went really well with the Michigan State all-whites that they chose to wear.
Uh-huh.
I think it was just a nice uniform game.
Yeah.
I think Michigan State's defensive game plan in this game, from what I saw, was very good. Ohio State had its lowest output, and it did not do well early on in the first quarter.
Uh-huh.
They forced the first interception Justin Fields has thrown yet in college. Their Michigan State's defense is good, and they had a good defensive game plan. Michigan State's offense is the opposite of good. Usually, most people call that bad. It's more than that.
It's worse.
They've got a talented-ish quarterback in Brian Lewerke, but what does that matter when you're in a horrible offensive system and you don't have any weapons? So,
right.
I mean, Michigan State can win ugly, but they can't beat Ohio State. This Ohio State team.
Right. But so. in their defense, this Ohio State team is arguably the best team in the country. So
I mean, yeah, I don't feel discouraged by that at all. Them only scoring 34 points. They won by 24 against a good team.
Yeah.
So
agreed. Another game that we had, Pittsburgh and Duke. This was an 8:00 ACC network game.
Imagine doubting the weirdness of Pitt. Could never be me.
Pitts ends up winning this game 33-30. Tyler gets the point. I do not. You talk about it because it hurts too much. It really does. I thought I had it in the bag.
Yeah, Pittsburgh was up 20-plus points at one point, and then Duke comes crawling back, and they take a lead with only a couple minutes left in the game. And it really felt, because for a long stretch of time, Duke was going to win. Duke was playing better. They were going to win this game. They dominated it from a certain point. Pittsburgh was just throwing it away. They were Atlanta Falconing.
Oof.
And then Kenny Pickett just takes him down the field, scores a touchdown, gets him up 33-30. And that's all she wrote. And Hail Pitt.
She hates me. She hates me. That's all she wrote, and she hates me. That's what it is. The last one in our 5-wide, Cal took on Oregon. We both picked Oregon. This was a Saturday night game on Fox. Oregon wins 17-7. What we expected. The team with the starting quarterback wins this game.
I seriously cannot stress enough how much I think Cal wins this game with Chase Garbers.
Mm-hmm.
Because they started off and their defense was everywhere, held Oregon to only 17 points, and they scored early on with a good, I think, opening game plan. But Devon Monster is not good.
Yeah.
Chase Garbers, please come back and make Cal really competitive, please.
We want to see it happen, please.
Please.
Nice. Let's continue forward. Our 2-point conversions. We both got our 2-point conversions this week. I picked Nebraska over Northwestern. I ended up getting that 13-10. You picked Oregon State over UCLA. You ended up getting it 48-31. Both of us get 2 points. There's not much to be said there. It kind of happened the way we thought it would happen. Nebraska Northwestern had a pretty boring game that ended up being low scoring. And then Oregon State UCLA. Oregon State ends up throwing all over UCLA and has a 17-point victory.
Jonathan Smith at Oregon State and Chip Kelly at UCLA were hired in the same offseason. And UCLA was coming off a 7-win year, and Oregon State was Oregon State. And Oregon State looks way better now.
We need to have a serious conversation about UCLA one day.
Yeah.
And how much I want to thank the Lord Jesus for dodging us that bullet.
Not a bullet, a bazooka.
Not a bazooka, an atomic bomb.
Yeah. The hand of God came in and saved us.
Maradona came in and just went, boop. You can't expect me to not make a Maradona reference with Hand of God. In there. Which, by the way, I really want to see that HBO documentary. They say it's really good. There's like a 2.5-hour documentary on Maradona, who's like one of the greatest characters in sports history, but that's for another day. All right, fine, Tyler. The total to date, you have 28, I have 24. Can we move on now?
4 touchdowns, baby. Let's go.
Gosh. Here we
go.
You
had to settle for field goals in the red zone. I converted touchdowns.
Hey, all I need is a good 2-minute drive. Okay, I need a good 2-minute drive.
We're getting into crunch time, baby. We're getting into
it's halftime.
It's the middle 8. It's the last 4 minutes of the second quarter and the first 4 minutes of the third quarter. This is where the New England Patriots pull away. This is where they score right at the end of the first half, and they score to open up the second half. This is where I'm coming in with a lead. I'm just going to stretch that baby.
Okay, you'll see. You'll see what happens. I'm going to get a turnover on that opening possession. I'm going to get it from you. All right.
All right. Say what you will.
All right. Let's go to tweets we've shared, Tyler. What is your favorite tweet that I've sent you? I sent you a ton this weekend because I had a lot of downtime at the airport, and I spent a lot of Twitter time, so you got a ton of it.
There's a lot of good ones. A lot of Florida LSU ones related so far. It's very early in the week, but so much is being said about this game. I'm not going to go with that, though, because we have plenty to talk about with that. I think what I'm going to talk about is this one that you sent me that I still can't get over. Mm-hmm. It is a clip from the show Judge Judy. And the tweet says, "Why is Jim Harbaugh in the audience of this episode of Judge Judy?"
Why?
And if you watch the clip, Jim Harbaugh and not only him, his father as well.
Yeah, it looked like him, right? They look identical.
Yeah, are in the audience of Judge Judy laughing at like the jokes that Judge Judy is saying. And this is apparently a recent episode. Go coach your football team. Go recruit. Maybe
Harbaugh was there because he was trying to file a grievance in Judge Judy's court on, "Your Honor, I didn't realize what I was getting into with these ineptitude players when I recruited them." That's the only thing I can think of.
Isn't it the most Michigan man thing ever to, instead of coaching your football team, go to sit in the audience of Judge Judy? Couldn't even get into a good studio show.
Oh my gosh! And here's my last thing there. We couldn't see what he was wearing because he just showed his chest up. I guarantee it was khakis.
I don't even need to see anything below his neck. I know exactly what he's wearing every time.
Guaranteed.
The biggest surprise of that whole video, other than him actually being there at all, he wasn't wearing glasses and a hat.
Yeah, that was weird.
That's weird. He's casual Jim Harbaugh, not a huge fan.
Or the whistle with the pen in the whistle on the thing.
Oh, no.
Oh, man. Okay. My favorite tweet, this hurts me, but it's hilarious. Richard Johnson at RJ_ writes, great, you already know. It is 3 pictures, Tyler. First one is a picture of Baker Mayfield. The second one is the upgrade button. And the third picture is a picture of Gardner Minshew wearing a Burt Reynolds t-shirt.
The man is a living meme.
The man is a living meme.
He is also He also threw for like 374 yards against the Panthers. But of course, the Jacksonville defense decided to suck, so it didn't matter.
Now, I'd like to add on to that a tweet that I sent you just because it goes with it by Tyler R. Tynes, so at Tyler Ricky Tynes, and it is in all caps, and it says, Baker Mayfield just Ryan Fitzpatrick with a Big 12 degree. I've never wanted to fight a tweet more in my life.
Baker Mayfield does not have a good season, but I want to adamantly fight that tweet.
I want to adamantly fight the people who don't think Baker Mayfield's a good quarterback.
Yeah, it just seems ignorant to me.
His coach is Freddie Kitchens. Say less.
Say less.
We're moving forward. Gosh, I'm mad. You know what would make me really happy, Tyler?
What?
If someone dropped a bag for our podcast.
That made me happy too. Made me feel better about the Baker Mayfield slander.
I know. Can't even tolerate it. You know where they can do that, Tyler? Do you have any idea where people can drop a bag to advertise on the podcast?
Probably at our email address.
Oh, what is it?
I think it's sidelinejudgment@gmail.com.
So
we
simple.
changed it. We changed it from. It's always been that.
Oh, boom.
So you have no excuse to not drop a bag.
You know what also hasn't changed?
What?
The policy. The policy of there is literally nothing that we won't do for a bag of literally any size.
Yeah.
Small bags, medium bags, big bags. We're a big fan of bags.
Just drop the bags.
Just drop them. You can put them in one of those like Amazon lockers. We'll pick them up. It'll be great. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
Big fans of that. Tyler, forget all of that. You know what it's time for?
It's time for the game of the week, baby.
It's time for the game of the week. The Florida Gators traveling to Baton Rouge, Louisiana.
Baton Rouge.
Take on traveling Baton Rouge. Take on the LSU.
The Coach Jordan and the gumbo.
You know, it's not Game of Death Valley. It's great.
They're gonna hunt them
You know
all.
what? You know what we need to do? We need to make sure we watch out for that running offense that they got there. You know, if we stop the run, that's going to be the way to win this game. You know what I mean? That's my biggest concern. I can't get through it. Yo, this man really said stop the run and we'll beat the Gators. Oh.
It's like the one thing that we don't do well right now.
I was like, sir?
Are you just trying to – so that – okay, Ed Orgeron is either like just – and the entire LSU team is either like blatantly ignoring this Gator team thinking they can win, or they're just trying to really play it dumb.
Here's my thing. No. Here's what I truly believe is happening. I watched part of the Ed Orgeron press conference, and he explicitly said the Gators in the past 3 meetings we've had with them have killed us on the ground.
Gotcha.
Our priority is to stop the run. My problem there is, and then he also said that he was having concerns with his team's fumbling, and that he was going to hammer it and he was going to work on it, which
it's not
is
a
good.
good team to have that problem, I guess.
He is using this week. I think the way that he uses his practices is fixing the errors of his team, which is good. You should do that as a coach, but I don't think he's putting much importance on his opponents. You know what I mean? Maybe that's why Vandy scores 38 points. Maybe that's why Texas hangs around until the last 3-4 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where
it's possible. I mean, there's certainly merit to that.
Yeah, that's what and then there's also the fact that he explicitly mentioned that he was going back and watching the tape from the past 2-3 years, where if I was him, I would burn everything that McElwain did. And then I would take a look at last year, and I would honestly take a look at the Kentucky game, and I would take a look at this past Auburn game. Like those are the games that you need to see to see what our weaknesses are in that sense. You know what I mean? And like I hope he never listens to he never listens to this podcast, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I don't understand the going back and looking at games from past years at all at this point in the season.
Yeah.
Like I get it. In the first quarter of the season, we are going off of, especially in the first game, we're going off of what we think and what we've seen in the past couple of years.
Right.
For Dan Mullen, it's really only 1 year because he's only had 1 year here, and then he'd go back to what he thinks about him at Mississippi State.
Right.
But I think that in the first 4 games, even when you've seen a game or two, you are still relying on things from the past because so little has been played. We are going into week 7. Our team, Florida is 6-0. They've won 6 games. And LSU's 5-0. They played 5 games. Teams at this point are what they are. You have so much film to look at that you should only look at, in my opinion, now maybe I'm wrong, I'm not a football coach, but you should look at what has been happening this season. Yes, it might not prepare you for all the things that are coming, but you know what? There's probably things that are coming that haven't actually happened in the last couple seasons.
Right.
There's plays that Mullen has run in big games that he hasn't run the entire season previous. Watching last year isn't going to help that. Mm-hmm. So I think that, I say this, I'm not a football coach, but I think that he needs to be focusing on what this team can do. From the very bits and pieces of the interviews with LSU players and LSU coaches that I've seen, it does seem like they are more focused on what they are doing rather than what they're doing, like in a vacuum. Like, are we good at passing? Are we good at running? Are we good at tackling and fumbling?
Yeah.
Rather than what that is in relation to Florida.
Right. And I think
Monday press conference is a whole week of practice left.
Exactly.
Nothing.
Yeah, well, could mean nothing. He could be saying that so that it's out there, having gamesmanship.
Yeah.
One thing that I do think we should talk about this game, and it's been. I'm gonna go into the tweets that we've shared with each other this week, these past couple days, because it's been a lot of statistics, and we've been going through a lot of like the numbers. This game is interesting because LSU's opponents' pass defenses, right? So the teams that LSU has played. Those pass defenses yards per game rankings are 103, Georgia Southern, 126, Texas, 118, Vandy, and 114 for Utah State. Tyler, can you guess what our ranking is?
For passing yards per game?
Yeah. Defensive yards per game.
I imagine it's pretty high.
It's 18.
That's way better than any other team that they've
It's
faced.
literally over 100 spots higher than Texas's. Now, shifting it, right? Florida's opponents pass offense ranking yards per game, right? Meaning the offenses that our defense is going to face, right?
Yeah.
Miami, 11th, pretty high. Kentucky, 88. Tennessee, 86. And Auburn, 105. LSU is ranked second in the country in pass offense yards per game. So these numbers, right, when you give the two matchups on both sides of the ball, right, there's three sides of the ball, offense, defense, special teams. On the Florida offensive side of the ball, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, on the LSU.
Florida, yeah.
On the LSU offensive side of the ball, they're going up against a defense that the best defense that they've seen all year. And probably the best defense that they will see all year. And then on the Florida offensive side of the ball, they're going up against another really good defensive team there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or a really good offensive team, sorry.
It's odd. It's just this is going to be a battle of something that's got to give. Mm-hmm. It's just a different kind of matchup than what we saw last week against Auburn. I think, and additionally, another number to look at is Florida is the number one red zone defense in the country right now, and they are 20 percentage points better than the number 2 red zone defense in the country.
So it's not even close.
It's dramatic. And on top of that, LSU is the number 1 red zone offense in the country. Mm-hmm. So something's gonna have to give.
Yeah, and that's what this whole game is. Like, we can go back and forth. I was texting my cousin Vinny, who is an LSU alum. Lives in Louisiana right now, is actually going to the game. He sent me pictures. He has 2 tickets to the game, so he's going to be in Death Valley watching the game. You will meet in 2 years when we go to the game.
Yes.
He'll definitely go to the game with us. We were talking, and he was saying how he's like, he said, I'm concerned about our offensive line, meaning LSU's. And I said, no. I'm concerned about our offensive line, meaning Florida's. And he goes, no, but like I get you, but like, and I was talking about how I think our defense is going to not necessarily shut down the passing
seriously
offense,
affect,
but it will see a serious effect, and people will start to say, "Wow, what's wrong with Joe Burrow?" When it really won't be Joe Burrow's fault because he's actually a really good quarterback. It'll be our secondary. It'll be DBU stepping up, and so he's talking. He says our wide receivers are nasty, and I said, no, sir. Our wide receivers are nasty. So it's really interesting to see all of the parallels within these two teams. And with the exception of like the offense and defenses and the strength of the team. And so what, like you said, something's got to give. What will it be? And I think it comes down to the mentality aspect. Yes, LSU is 100,000% going to have a home field advantage. They're playing in Death Valley at night. It's arguably one of their biggest rivals. We don't like each other. We know it. We've had players come out and say it. Joe Burrow came out and said, we don't like those guys. Period. Full stop. There's a lot of animosity and bad blood between these teams, especially in the past few years. But you also got to remember, not only is Florida the best red zone defense in the country, Florida's the best fourth quarter team in the country. Period.
By a mile.
By a mile. We have
Statistically,
allowed.
that is.
Yes, statistically. I think I've said this before on this pod, and I definitely said it to you off camera, off air. We've allowed 6 points in the fourth quarter through these 6 games. 6
and
points.
You know when those 6 points happened?
When?
All against Miami.
The first game of the season.
Yeah, since that point, Florida has not allowed a point in the fourth quarter.
It's incredible. Like we're definitely
even in garbage time.
We're definitely a hold the rope team. We're definitely a never flinch. We don't flinch team, and I think that's going to help us in the end. Granted, like I said before, LSU's strength of being at home, having the home field advantage. So it's so interesting about all of the parallels in this game, and I think because of that, it makes it it may not be the 2 best teams playing this weekend, but it's definitely going to be the most entertaining college football game of the weekend.
On top of it, I think this being 2 very good teams facing off of it against each other in a great environment, I do think that this game could get pointy. The Florida offense needs to be able to score points in this game.
Yeah.
They were moving the ball really well against Auburn, a better defense, granted at home, but they're moving the ball really well. The game plan was really good. Dan Mullen in his last 2 meetings with against LSU and against Dave Aranda's defense has done really well offensively.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Florida will be able to move the ball. We have not really seen Cal Trask in an environment like this. Yes, he came in the fourth quarter against Kentucky and battled in the third quarter against Kentucky and scored 19 extra points. Not taking that away from him, but this is not the same environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that Florida's offense, the key. We talk a lot about LSU's offense against Florida's defense, and I think that's a very important matchup. That's the one that all the NFL scouts are going to be watching, rightfully so. But I think the really important one is Florida's offense, because there's a real chance, I think, if Mullen gets a good game plan and if they limit turnovers, I think there's a real chance that Florida's offense can really move the ball well against this LSU defense.
So we have to.
They're banged up. Every team is banged up, but they're missing some really good players, and I think that this is you have to attack it differently. You're going to be able to run a little bit better on this team. Not going to say our run issues are going to get fixed, but you're going to be able to run a little bit better. Their passing defense has given up a lot of big plays,
right?
But they've got really talented players.
Mm-hmm.
So I trust Dan Mullen to have a game plan around that. So that's really the question to me, because I think that Florida's defense and LSU's offense are both going to have wins on their side of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the matchup that will decide the game is how does the Florida's offense do in turn, because LSU's offense can be great, but it's going up against a really tough opponent. And I think that Florida's offense, while not so far as explosive,
mm-hmm.
is going up against a weaker defense. Not a bad defense, but a weaker defense. So I think that's where really the game will lie.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that we're going to be experiencing the reverse key to the game against Auburn. The key to the game against Auburn was you have to start fast. You have to keep your home field advantage. You have to keep them down.
Mm-hmm.
Mullen made a really good choice in the Auburn game. They won the coin toss. They deferred. It was like, put my defense out there.
Yeah.
This crowd is rocking.
Yeah.
Like you whatever you can to keep that energy. Yes, it will eventually have to die back down for the offense, but you don't do that at the beginning of the game.
Right.
Like you don't ask your students to stop yelling and then get back up to the levels it was at kickoff.
Right.
When the music is pumping and the teams are dancing.
Yeah. Lucky for us, we got a 3-and-out, and then we scored 2 plays later, so we were able to maintain that energy. We had to do the opposite, like you said, against LSU, right?
We got to get out there. We got to score,
or go on defense first.
Go on defense first and shut it down.
Yeah.
And that's the key. You have to start off hot, and Florida did that. They did a good job of keeping Auburn down early. And then actually ended up keeping Auburn down for most of the game, for all of the game. But keeping Auburn down from a fast start and getting off to a fast start themselves, you need to be able to get a fast start on offense to quiet the crowd. You got to minimize the ability for Baton Rouge to have any effect.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's a huge aspect of the game. What do you think? What do you think is going to happen? Like we've talked a lot about the matchups and this, that, and the other.
Mm-hmm.
We do get Jabari Zuniga back
We do officially.
officially.
Yeah, even though he
They
was
held him out
technically
against Auburn for this moment.
What a flex! I just still can't get over it. What a flex! We'll get him healthy. I think. Okay, let me counter you. I want to know one more thing before we make our picks and talk about make our decisions. Joe Burrow.
Yes.
He's a much better quarterback than we gave him credit at the start of the season. But the question here is, their offense not only runs through him, but we've seen it that their offense has basically been Joe Burrow dependent. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if going up against a defense that has starting corners, Marco Wilson and CJ Henderson, and has proven that our second string and the depth that we have in the secondary is good enough to be able to hold up those really good LSU wide receivers. So my question to you is, what is the worst case scenario for Florida, like in terms of Joe Burrow? Like what does Joe Burrow have to do basically to beat this elite level Florida defense, both in the secondary and in the front seven? Because like we said, we're getting Jabari Zuniga back. Jonathan Grenard's going to be on the other end. And like my cousin Vinny said, that offensive line is struggling, apparently, to them. So we can get to the quarterback, technically. What's their best case scenario?
He cannot turn the ball over, really.
Okay.
The sort of defense feeds on turnovers. Mm-hmm. They feed on creating havoc plays. And he needs to play mistake-free football. I don't think he has to play every drive is a 60-yard touchdown pass. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that those won't happen, because as much as we have excellent starting corners and really good players, I do think that the safety position is a place that Joe Burrow could attack through the air. Granted, the safeties accounted for 2 of the interceptions against Bo Nix. Mm-hmm. So, it's an area that the safety area is the area that I am worried about for Florida. But I think Joe Burrow just he doesn't have to play perfect football, but he needs to play mistake-free football. Mm-hmm. Because they need to approach it a similar way to the way that Florida approached Auburn, where it's just like you're at home, your defense is going to give you chances. At least that's what you believe going into the game.
That's the assumption of having home field.
It's important to keep the crowd in the game, to keep momentum on your side when you are at home. Mm-hmm. And if you have to end the first couple drives in a punt, that's okay. If I'm an LSU coach, it's more important to not give Florida short fields.
Okay. All right.
Because I think Gamel and I believe that Orgeron and Dave Aranda will believe this. Gamel's a good enough offensive coach to make you pay for those short fields.
He will. He will make you pay.
He's proved it. And so I think that Joe Burrow needs to make mistake-free football. LSU's offense schematically does not scare me the way that some others do, but they've just got dudes making plays. And that is, in some ways, if you can just stop that, I don't think that they have this extra trick up their sleeve that they can pull it at Florida. But that's a really hard thing to stop. Mm-hmm. You know?
Yeah, I get it.
We're going to find out.
We're going to find out. And look, you asked me earlier, what do I think is going to happen? I've been flip-flopping for the past 2 days, man. I've been trying to be very realistic and come down from the high that was this past weekend. But I think Raul today just randomly came into my office and said, Gators by 3. And I went, really? And I think it's ringing into me. I think this could be a 24-21 Gators win, 28-24. Not as high scoring. Maybe even like a 17-14 or 20-17. It's a 3-point game, in my opinion. I think the Gators can win a close game. Now, if Joe Burrow becomes Joe Montana and starts slinging it, then I don't think we hold a chance. I think that if our strength in our defense doesn't hold them down, unless Trask has a career day, you know what I mean?
Very possible.
And which could happen. I mean, we can't rule it out.
This Florida team last year with Felipe Franks was better on the road.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, I'm not going to say that we're not intimidated by night game in Death Valley, because we are. It's one of the best atmospheres in college football. Can't
not be.
Right. We can't wait to experience it one day. But listen, we're not afraid. We are not afraid of going into Death Valley. We've won over and over in there. We are not afraid of that. So bring it on. Let's play some football. Let's hit each other in the mouth. I'm going to take Gators by 3. I'm going to take Gators by 3.
That was beautiful.
Thank you.
And you got me pumped up. I think that Florida is extremely capable of winning this game, more so than anyone's giving them credit for. The opening, I'm not a betting man. Allegedly.
I allegedly am a betting man.
According to some rumors.
Rumor has it.
But I noticed that the opening Vegas line gave LSU a 14-point. They were 14-point favorites.
It moved down to 13 today.
Oh wow! I know that's big in gambling because that gives you the touchdown.
Yes.
But I think it's going to be a much closer game than that.
This game should have opened LSU by like 6. That would have been a more realistic.
Yeah, I think that would have been a really good. That would have been a really
opening
good
line,
one.
a realistic opening line. 14,
because
13,
then a lot of Florida fans would still be like, with a lot of Florida fans would still be kind of like, do I take that? Do I not?
I would have taken it. I would have taken it at 6 because I think Gators by 3, which gives me a 9-point cushion.
Yeah, I think that Florida is very capable of winning this game.
Yeah.
And I think it will be a close game. I don't think that it's weird. There was an attitude last weekend where it was like, if Florida doesn't do things right, Auburn might blow them out because they've got the keys to it. I just get this feeling that that's not happening this week. Mm-hmm. Either way, I don't think Florida goes in and blows out LSU, and I don't think LSU is just going to completely blow out Florida. A lot of that having to do with the won't back down, hold the rope mentality of this football team. Mm-hmm. But I think that something that we haven't really talked about that I think will take in effect. I think it's a bit of a body blow game. I think that playing Auburn is physical, regardless of if you win or not. They're a physical team. This Gators team is very well conditioned, very strong, but LSU's coming off playing Utah State.
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to give LSU the slight advantage, and LSU is going to win at home. Mm-hmm. And I think Florida's capable of winning this game. I think it's a very close game late. Mm-hmm. I think LSU wins. Every goal that Florida wants is still attainable for them.
Yep, agreed. Listen. We lose this game, we can still make it to the SEC championship game with a win against Georgia. The game.
In some ways, you have to beat Georgia regardless of whether you win or not.
And it's not. In some ways, you do. You have to beat Georgia regardless if you want to make it to Atlanta. So it's not like this game doesn't matter. This is a big recruiting game. This is a big rivalry game. This is a big game for us. And to beat 2 top 10 teams in a 2-week span, I think that's going to take it. That's going to be drawn notice. It's going to have more eyes on us. Listen, we definitely earned some respect this weekend, but we will be earning a lot more respect if we beat LSU in Death Valley, 8 p.m. on ESPN for sure. So that's been our preview for this big LSU game. Lots of anxiety. Going to need some liquid courage to get me through that game. Let's move on to 5 wide, Tyler. Let's go from one team that I'm emotionally attached to another team that I'm emotionally attached to. The Oklahoma Sooners taking on the. Actually, it's a great week for me. Come on, the Texas Longhorns in Dallas, Red River rivalry at the Cotton Bowl. I love that they play this game at the Cotton Bowl and not Jerry World because it gives it that old historical feeling.
Especially since they now play the Cotton Bowl, not at the Cotton Bowl. They play in Jerry World.
Yeah, they should play at the Cotton Bowl.
Yeah. So this is the biggest game in the Big 12, but also in a kind of way, it's kind of the least important game in the Big 12. Because it's probably going to be these 2 teams in the championship anyway. So what does it matter who wins now? But I think it's very interesting because Texas, regardless of how good the team is, Texas plays really well in this game all the time. And especially under Tom Herman.
It's the same thing for us with Georgia. Like neutral site, it's one of the few neutral site rivalry games that we still have. They play it regardless of who the coach is, regardless of how the programs are. It's a competitive game.
Yeah, I think the key to this is if we look at last year's game. Last year's game was a styles make fights kind of game. It was Oklahoma can score on literally any play from any distance. They're a threat to score. Texas is more ground and pounded. They're more physical. They And that's how they got a huge lead against Oklahoma in the first place. They just out-physicaled them, caused like one turnover, but they kept drives. They were short. They had slightly longer drives. Sam Ehlinger was running through guys, and Oklahoma's defense could not handle that. And Oklahoma's offense was slow to adjust. They eventually climbed back, and Texas won on a last-minute field goal.
Right.
But that is how Texas won. Texas was in a position to win because of their physicality and how that matched up with Oklahoma.
Right.
This year, with Jalen Hurts, the way Oklahoma goes about offense is less speed. I mean, they're still a very fast team, don't get me wrong, but it's built less around the speed and deep ball that threats that Kyler Murray was so evident in. Kyler Murray was such a fast athlete with so many speedy weapons. But Jalen Hurts, while an incredible athlete, is more of a physical presence. He is built a lot like Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah.
So I think in that situation, Oklahoma and Texas, in a lot of ways, are playing the same type. They're on offense. They're doing the same type of style.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if that's the case, if they're playing the same style, I'm going to give the edge to Oklahoma.
Yeah, I think it's not that Oklahoma's playing at Texas's game. I think it's Texas playing at Oklahoma's game. You know, and also I think I'm contractually obliged because of my family ties to pick Oklahoma. You already know, horns down, baby.
Horns down,
It's
which
horns down.
should not be a flag, but whatever.
Which should not be a flag, and I hope that first play of the game. I hope when Jalen Hurts scores his first touchdown in this game, he gives us a little horns down. He won't, but
he won't. You know he won't.
No, he said. People were asking like, "Are you excited to play in a rivalry game?" He's like, "Not really. I've played in the Iron Bowl."
I know people make the Iron Bowl out to be this big thing, but I honestly feel like this is more vitriol to it.
I think so as well. The Iron Bowl has a lot of history, and the hatred is big, and because it's literally what the people in the state of Alabama have. But this is I think a bigger rivalry game.
You know what the most hate-filled rivalry in college football is, though?
Is it? You gotta tell me, what is it?
I think it's the Egg Bowl.
Okay.
I truly believe that the Egg. Okay, Hugh Freeze got a show cause because of this rivalry.
Okay. Listen, we can have in the off season, we can have like a dissecting college football rivalries episode, and
I just think the people in Mississippi are just so angry about everything and hate, and that's all. Like but Mississippi State and Ole Miss are never like good enough to like really have this rivalry mean anything other than bragging rights, and for some reason that makes it more hatred filled. Anyway, Oklahoma's gonna win.
All right, I'm with you. Oklahoma, we both got it. Can I get a boomer?
You know what? I'll say it sooner.
Thank you, baby. Thank you, baby. Moving on.
If they lose, I'm abandoning it.
Not cool, man. Moving on. Alabama taking on Texas A&M, going to Kyle Field, 3:30 Eastern on CBS. Tyler, yes, this looks like a really big game. Yes, I think it is a big game. Let me be perfectly clear. Alabama's going to wipe the floor with A&M.
Preseason, I do this a lot. I would have told you that I would have picked Texas A&M this to be the game that they win against Alabama. Mm-hmm. I still think Alabama would have won the West, but I think that Texas A&M just does not look that good. And I think that it will look a lot better at the end of the season. And I think this could be competitive, but I'm also going to go Alabama.
Yeah.
I want to believe that Texas A&M can win this game just to make things interesting. Mm-hmm. But after what I've seen from them against Clemson and Auburn, I don't think that they can then go play Alabama and then suddenly be different.
They can hold
Maybe
up with,
later in the season when they play Georgia, they could give them fits, but I think that Alabama's going to win this game.
I just don't think they can hold up with the arguably first or second best team in the country, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right, moving on. Let's move up to Big Ten country. We got Michigan State taking on Wisconsin, 3:30 Eastern. Now, it didn't say the TV channel. I assumed Big 12 network, Big 10 network,
Big
sorry.
10.
Tyler, who do you have first in this game?
So, first takeaway from this game is going to be ugly.
Yeah. I told you before.
Ugly.
I hope it rains and there's mud, and I hope it's one of those. It looks like a game from the 1920s. Like, I hope it's like that.
Mm-hmm. That being said, Wisconsin is the better team, mm-hmm. but Michigan State is the uglier team.
Yes.
And I think, that's a high bar to say against Wisconsin, who prefers to win ugly. I think because Michigan State and Wisconsin aim to play similar levels. I think Michigan State's defense is so good. So is Wisconsin's.
Yeah.
But I think Michigan State's defense is going to give Jack Cohen some fits. I think Michigan State's going to win this game.
Tyler, let me introduce you to a player I like to call Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, who's that? Is he good?
Should I say it now?
Go ahead.
Future Heisman Trophy winner, Jonathan Taylor. He's winning the Heisman this year. I'm saying it now, week 7. Book it. You heard it on
Wisconsin Badgers I think the Wisconsin Badgers would need to make the playoff for that to happen. I would fully support it because he is so incredible and so valuable for his team.
I just don't see another clear number 1. There's a lot of really good options. And unless one of those players has a Heisman moment,
it's hard to break away from the pack.
Exactly. And I think Jonathan Taylor is putting up numbers at such a consistent rate that I could argue he could be one of the few players that doesn't need a quote-unquote Heisman moment because his whole season has been a Heisman moment. Make sense?
Well, that's what Tua Tua didn't win the Heisman, but that was what was going to happen for Tua, and that's why Tua lost it because he didn't have a Heisman moment.
Yeah.
And also he got hurt. But I think you got a major point. I thought you were going to say future Miami Dolphin Jonathan Taylor.
No, I don't want to spend such a high draft pick on there. We need to fix up the offensive line, and don't get me started with the Dolphins right now.
Okay.
I'm going to take Wisconsin. I also think Wisconsin is a better defense than Michigan State. I think I think you're right. Michigan State has a great defense, but I think the package there that having an X factor like Jonathan Taylor will come in, and they're at home. I think I'm going to go Wisconsin.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I'm going to go Wisconsin.
I'm not changing my opinion, but
please don't, because I need the points.
I got you.
Moving on, Penn State at Iowa, 7:30 on ABC. I said this when Penn State played Maryland. I'm sorry, played is a very loose term for it. I've said this when Penn State was on the field at the same time as Maryland. Penn State.
Can we even say that though?
I was there when the University of Maryland had people that were enrolled in the university on a field with lines on it. How about that?
I mean, I'll accept it. I'm not even really sure that Mike Loxley's got those guys going to class.
I don't even know.
Okay.
Yikes.
Always be Cruton.
Always be Cruton, baby. I'm gonna take the Iowa Hawkeyes because I don't think Penn State is as good as people think.
Iowa is
and
what?
It's in Des Moines.
Yeah, Iowa's really good in these big matchups at home.
They are, man.
And it's a night game at Kinnick Stadium.
They're gonna feel it.
And with the Children's Wave Hospital, I'm debating who I want to take here.
You can't see this, listeners, but on our Google Doc, all I see is the Tyler Williams name going back and forth between Penn State and Iowa because he is thinking and stalling for time.
This is a tough one because Penn State is a better team, but Iowa's so good in these games.
I disagree. I think Iowa's the better football team.
Really?
Penn State is not as good as people think.
But they're pretty good, though.
They're pretty good. You know who else?
I mean, they're obviously a good team.
Yeah.
You don't think Iowa? You think Iowa's better?
I do. I think from what I've seen this year, Iowa's kind of shown up in the bigger moments. Penn State did what it has done what it has to do. I think what's really the sour taste in my mouth is watching that game against Pitt, where Pitt had no business dominating on the ground like that. And they were in Happy Valley. Like, I
hear you.
And like I said, Iowa plays similar to like that, a little bit of an ugly style at times, and I don't know, man. I hear
you. I hear what you're saying. The words, they're coming through the airwaves. They're hitting me in the ears. They're processing in my brain. I respect your decision. I'm going to vehemently disagree.
Okay.
And I'm going to go with Penn State and Nittany Lions.
Okay.
I say vehemently disagree like I had made this decision beforehand.
Yeah, like it was a super important
Penn
thing.
State is a more talented team. They're better getting their athletes in space, and I think that will translate at Iowa. There, I said it.
All right, good. I like that we have a couple differences here because I need to make up ground. All right. Oh, you got a Birdman hand rub coming through.
Oh, this last game. This is the brand.
This is the most on-brand game for Sideline Judgment right here. We have the America's Nightcap, your Rainbow Warriors, Hawaii, heading into Boise, Idaho to play on that god-awful blue AstroTurf and
How
play
dare
the
you.
Boise State Broncos. 11:15.
The undefeated. Boise
Undefeated,
State
baby.
Broncos.
11:15 ESPN2. Tyler K. Williams. Who do you have?
Look, there's a lot of like both of these teams are good, and Boise State is. This is a Mountain West Conference game, so this is important.
Yeah.
Both these teams are good. Boise State's at home. They've got a good home field advantage. It's at night. But, these teams are two borderline Pac-12 teams, really, if we're thinking about it.
I mean, they both own the Pac-12.
This is Pac-12 after dark. I mean, basically.
Yeah.
Hawaii, definitely. Hawaii owns the Pac-12 North. Actually, just the Pac-12 in general. They beat Arizona and Arizona and Oregon State. They lost to Washington, but not even that will get me back on Washington's favor. I think I'm going to take QB1 Cole McDonald and the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors on the road after their demolition of Nevada a couple weeks ago. Just with that offense. Yeah, I'm taking Hawaii.
2 words, Tyler. Hank Bachmeier.
Oh, boy. Oh, baby.
The freshman.
The freshman.
I'm taking the
Bachmeier
Broncos.
home.
I want to make it perfectly clear. Hawaii, I love you. You are my Rainbow Warriors. And in the words of the great...
Are you doing a league course? So
in
this is just
in the words of college football's grandfather,
oh
this pick is strictly business, baby.
Oh, my God.
Give me that Boise State head. Give me that Bronco head.
Hawaii, you're my nightcap any day of the week. I will never abandon you.
I'm not abandoning. I'm just...
No, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Fine. I'm taking the Broncos. I think they'll win. I really do.
You had tickets to the game, and you were like, no, I'll take my friend from work, Boise State. You weren't going to take your girl on the side, Hawaii. No, I got you. That made no sense, but I'm taking
That really
Hawaii.
made no sense. Well, I think it does, because in this situation, like, my girlfriend is Florida. The girl on the side is Hawaii.
And my work friend
Hawaii. And my work friend is Boise State. I get it. No, I get it. So I made a smart decision.
On second thought, I think I made a great analogy. Didn't make sense at first, but now I think it actually makes perfect sense.
Incredible. Tyler, before we finish up, we need to talk about our 2-point conversions. And since it is an even week, you, my friend, get to choose first. So what is your 2-point conversion attempt? There's plenty of games here to pick from.
There are so many good games.
Best week in college football so far.
There's so many games to talk about. There's USC at Notre Dame. We got Colorado at Oregon. Virginia at Miami.
Tell them.
Iowa State at West Virginia. Syracuse at NC State.
Ooh.
Washington State at Arizona State.
Yes.
I'm skipping some of these here because they're not that good. We're going to get to see FSU lose badly to Clemson. Ole Miss at Missouri. That's interesting. Arkansas at Kentucky. Arkansas can do something. Louisville against my undefeated Wake Forest Demon Deacons. All great options. I'm not even going to mention a certain team in Seattle because they've let me down. I think one of the best matchups that I'm not going to pick it.
Okay.
I think I didn't say it yet. It deserves highlighting. The Middle Tennessee. I think it's the Blue Raiders.
Tennessee State.
Tennessee State Blue Raiders at Atlantic Owls.
Yes.
That's a good one.
It is a good game.
4 p.m. on ESPN Plus.
Yes, it is.
Because Middle Tennessee State plays them close all the time.
I will probably be out exploring the great city of Boston at that time, so I will have it on my phone. I'll have it on my phone. I had to compromise. I had to go out and see Boston and stuff and spend time with friends.
There's only so much time in the weekend. I feel you, man.
And I have to watch Florida LSU, and I also want to watch at least part of Red River. So.
But the game I'm going to be picking is against the Nebraska Cornhuskers and the Minnesota Golden Gophers. The undefeated Minnesota Golden Gophers.
Great pick of a game.
Question. Who shall Tyler K. Williams pick?
Minnesota's
undefeated, but they have been like a fake good undefeated.
Yeah.
Nebraska has like obvious deficiencies. So it comes down. It's at Minnesota. PJ Fleck's really got the culture there going well. But I think that Nebraska, I don't think it's a get-right game, but I think Nebraska is better coached. They're not, I don't think they're dramatically better, but I think that Minnesota's gotten really lucky with a lot of their wins. I think the pendulum swings the other way. I'm going to take Nebraska Cornhuskers over the Minnesota Golden Gophers.
That is an interesting pick.
Yeah,
that is an interesting pick.
I'm struggling with this because there's also a reality that I could easily see happening where Minnesota just trounces Nebraska.
Mm-hmm. I can see that as well. And I hope that happens because I need the points.
You need the points, yeah.
My friend, there are tons of great games for me to pick. Tons of great games for me to pick. I'm going to go a little off the beaten path. I am going to go with...
Ooh, baby.
I'm going to go with a team that I think has serious contention to win the American. I'm going to go with a team that if Boise State slips up later on in the year, could end up playing in a New Year's Six bowl game. My friend, I am picking the Memphis Tigers to have a victory over the Temple Owls on the road.
Let's go.
On ESPN.
These underrated. These underrated games.
You want me
people
to pick...
people call us SEC homers.
Oh, are you kidding? What, you want me to pick what? Notre Dame and USC? You want me to pick Ole Miss and Mizzou? You want me to pick Louisville and Wake Forest? That's too easy. Too easy.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
I'm going with Memphis over Temple. I think it's going to be a really, really good game. Great American Conference game.
Memphis has a good offense, and they finally this year figured out how to have a good defense. So they're scary. Mm-hmm. Temple's a good team. Temple's one of them. Temple's one of those weird fringe teams where it's just like they're good. You're not really sure how good, but it doesn't really matter how good they are. It's when they're good.
Right. Exactly.
Like it's like what weekend are they going to show up and just ruin somebody's day? Mm-hmm. So it's a good pick.
Thank you very much. I like to think it's a good pick. No. Only Owls I acknowledge are FAU Owls. Let's keep it real. Tyler, we've come to the end of the pod. Let's go ahead and talk about the moment of the week. I think it's pretty obvious what our moments of the week are.
I don't think we need to have a separate one. I think we both. I
think what we can do is pick something within the game day.
Okay.
And let me share you mine. Mine is being in that. Mine is obvious. I think there's multiple parts of it. I love tailgating. I loved going around and just kind of soaking in the atmosphere. We were able to take advantage of going to multiple tailgates to visit multiple people and to have basically like be all over campus. We were on campus. We went off campus. We were in prepaid tailgates that we weren't supposed to be in. Like we were all over the place, and it was great. It was phenomenal. And then also, I really enjoyed the end of the third quarter. That Won't Back Down was one of the most beautiful things that we had. I loved friend of the pod, Michael Phillips, coming over and sitting with us for the second half. That was a phenomenal experience. And then also, I'd like to give a shout-out to, I think her name was Alyssa Malin, who I think is one of the SOTD's students' friends, who's the Auburn fan that we had talked about in the reaction pod. We had a conversation before the game. It was really interesting to see, like, she was literally, I think, the only person in the student section, for sure. And she was really wonderful and great. She ended up messaging me on Instagram and just saying, hey, thank you so much for being kind. Hope the pod goes well and all that kind of stuff. And I said, yeah, Tyler and I are trying to make our way over to every SEC stadium one day. That's one of our goals. And when we go to Jordan Hare, we just want to treat people the way she was saying how thank you so much for treating, not, being mean to me and stuff and treating us right. And I was like, yeah, of course, because we want to treat people the way that we hope to be treated when we make our road trips to our away days. So it was just nice to see that kind of SEC camaraderie and people just wanting to experience different college football atmospheres, which at the end of the day is really why we love this game, the different atmospheres and all those kind of things. So the whole game day experience, phenomenal, loved it. And I had a pub sub. So there's that.
Oh.
Had a pub sub, baby.
Good.
So
you just put mine over the top. You put yours over the top of what I'm about to say.
When I don't have access to pub subs, they make them that much sweeter. Also, they were out of white bread, so I got Cuban bread instead, and that slapped. That
I can't talk to you right now.
you
I'm
need
too
to try it.
jealous. Oh,
You need to try it. Tyler, there's a Publix within 10 minutes of you. I don't even know where
I'm
you
about
live.
to leave and go right now. I haven't had dinner yet.
Go get one. Go get one. Continue.
But I think mine is similar. Mine, first of all, I got to go to all the Gainesville places that I missed eating at. That relish double tasty.
Oof.
It just felt different in my body.
Incredible.
But on top of that, I think the biggest thing is that I went over didn't stay for the whole time, but I was there for the last half of college game day.
Uh-huh.
I was at Plaza de Americas this time, which was just incredible because it was a fully surrounded set.
Yeah.
And just with the way you could see the aerial shots, just with the palm trees over there, it really felt like there were people everywhere in orange and blue, and the signs were incredible. While I was there, I ran into 3 different groups of friends that I had not seen in a while. Just looking for a friend of the pod, Michael Phillips, who I was meeting there. I ran into 3 different groups of friends that I got to see because I was there at game day. Great atmosphere. It really is truly an unrivaled event.
Yeah.
I think in all sports. Like I don't really think there's anything quite like it.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's me being a naive college football fan, but like there's nothing quite like the signs and the just mania around college game day as an event.
Yeah.
It relates to sports. I'm relating it to all their like pregame like shows and things like that. And on top of that, I got to see while I was over there. I got to see friend of the pod, SEC champion Amanda Chaney.
Yay! We love her.
This was better.
Could you go back, Tyler? You kind of cut down a little bit. You said you met friend of the pod, Amanda Chaney.
Yeah, I met friend of the pod, Amanda Chaney, former SEC gymnast and champion.
Yes.
And I think that it was great to see her. It's great to see everybody. It's just truly an incredible experience. I'd been to college game day one time before when it was in Jacksonville, Florida, Georgia. Mm-hmm. But it was so much better being on a college campus for it.
Yeah.
Just made the whole weekend great.
I showed up. I loved it. I showed up a little later. I was there for like the last 15 minutes, but I was there for picks, and I was there. You know, I got the atmosphere, and it was phenomenal. We loved it. We loved to see it. Can't wait to have another one. Can't wait to make the journey back for another game day. And honestly, Tyler, can't wait for us to work on game day one day. I think that would be
one day
the dream job for us right there. Work on game day.
Now, here's the thing. Would you rather work on game day or would you rather be the guest picker on game day? Because you can't do both.
That's a tough question. I think maybe work game day because, yeah, being the guest picker would be fun. But that's a one-time, maybe two-time thing. Yeah. I think working on game day...
If you don't get to work on it, it would be...
Yeah, exactly. I would like to do it. Yeah, I agree. So that's where I'm at.
I'm convinced that we're going to work in every possible sports media outlet imaginable.
I hope so.
How much we've talked
about so, man.
All these places.
That's the joy. I mean, listen, we love college football more than anything for not only the game but the atmosphere and the environment, and I want nothing more than to experience that for the rest of my life. You know?
Correct.
Tyler, this has been a long but necessary episode of Sideline Judgment. We will be back next week talking about this LSU game. Hopefully it's a Gator victory. And we'll be previewing what I consider to be, weirdly, the most important game of the year on the road against South Carolina. It's because of trap game implications. We got to make sure that we are focused and all that, but we'll talk about that next week. And we'll be reviewing a huge week in college football, especially those games that we didn't get to talk about.
Our rapid reaction is going to be long.
Gonna be a minute for those rapid reactions, baby. But yeah, that's what we'll be back with next week. Tyler, I will be in Boston. I'll be watching it. Make sure we will, as we do every single day of our lives, be communicating. But this one will be special if we pull this one off. This one will be special.
Well, this will be like last week. The Auburn win is a sign that this Florida team is a really good team. But a win against LSU would mean that this Florida team is a great team.
Yeah, we would be put into serious playoff discussions then.
I don't know if I can handle that.
I can't either. if you can't handle me at my 6-0, good luck at my 7-0 with back-to-back top 10 victories. Good luck. I'm going to be insufferable.
Mullen has been in a situation where his team has had to face back-to-back top 10 teams once before. 2014 Mississippi State. They played top 10 teams 3 weeks in a row. They went 3-0 and rose to number 1 in the country faster than any team has ever happened.
Yeah. Well, you know what happened. They were. Did you know that they are the first ever number 1 team in the college football playoff rankings? Inaugural.
I did actually know that. I think we're one of the 2 people that will ever know that.
Who knows, man? Maybe history repeats itself week 8 after we get that first ranking. We've talked way too much, Tyler. Let's go ahead and hang up. This has been yet another episode of Sideline Judgments. My name is Sergio.
My name is Tyler.
And we are not biased, except we are biased, so go Gators.